Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a fascinating, almost backwards-sounding truth. We're going to look at why doing less, and specifically just staying silent, actually yields way more power, respect, and peace in your life. We are unpacking the psychology of silence.
So let me just ask you right off the bat, have you ever noticed that your life becomes instantly more peaceful the exact moment you stop defending every little decision? I mean, think about that exhausting cycle of over-explaining. Think about how incredibly heavy it feels to constantly justify your choices to everyone around you. And then, imagine how it feels to finally just let all of that go.
Because the second you step off that mental treadmill of over-explaining, something crazy happens. You stop trying to prove your intentions. The emotional relief of not having to constantly audit your own thoughts for other people, it's huge. You suddenly realize, hey, I actually don't owe the world a 24/7 defense of my personal motives.
And right on the heels of that, dropping this massive burden of always seeking external validation brings you a completely new sense of freedom. And strangely enough, people actually start respecting you more when you do this. It's pretty fascinating to uncover exactly why silence is, a lot of the time, so much more powerful than 1,000 explanations.
Okay, Section 1. The paradox of explaining you don't need everyone's approval.
Look, this all really starts with a core psychological drive we all share, which is social belonging. It's totally natural. We're human. We want to be accepted and we want to feel understood. But when that desire takes the wheel, it can mistakenly lead us to change who we are. We start over-explaining every little thing just to avoid a bit of criticism. And before we know it, we end up trapped, basically living our lives for an audience rather than for ourselves.
Which brings us to this absolutely massive truth. Not everyone needs to understand your choices, and not everyone deserves access to your private reasons. Just let that sink in for a second. Truly internalizing this is a total game changer in how you interact with the world.
Moving right along to Section 2, the cost of approval, the trap of weakened boundaries.
Because here's the thing, over-explaining doesn't just drain your energy, it actively destroys your personal limits. Imagine you're at step 1. You simply say, no. Boom. Complete sentence. But then, step 2 happens. The guilt creeps in. So at step 3, you panic and toss in a reason. Oh, I'm sorry, I really can't because, and you add an excuse. Suddenly, you're at step 4. Your firm boundary has just morphed into an open debate. You've accidentally given the other person the perfect opening to negotiate your limit.
The hard reality here? A boundary is not a debate. Emotionally intelligent people communicate their decisions clearly, without offering an opening for an argument. It's a statement about what you will and won't accept, not a 5-paragraph essay.
All right, Section 3, why people misunderstand you, the hard reality of human perception.
And this is where we hit a tough psychological reality known as interpretation bias. People simply don't judge you based on objective facts. They're filtering everything you do through their own existing baggage, their experiences, their beliefs, their insecurities. You literally cannot control someone else's interpretation of your perfectly valid choices because a lot of the time they've already decided exactly what they want to believe. You see this play out in everyday life all the time. Let's say you set a healthy boundary. Someone with their own insecurities might automatically interpret that as you being selfish. Or maybe you just need some personal space to recharge. They immediately take it as a personal rejection. Heck, you might achieve something great, and through their negative lens, you're just being arrogant. It's wild. The point is, if a person has already made up their mind, your perfectly logical explanations are completely powerless against their internal narratives. Which brings us to Section 4, explaining versus defending, protecting your mental energy. We only have so much mental bandwidth every single day. Do you really want to spend it desperately trying to be understood by skeptics instead of building the life you want? To protect your energy, try using this filtering question the next time you feel the urge to justify yourself. Is this person genuinely trying to understand me, or am I trying to convince someone who has already made up their mind? If it's the latter, just stop explaining. Your inner peace is worth way more than a pointless argument. Because there's a huge difference here. Explaining is healthy. It's apologizing for mistakes, taking accountability, and repairing relationships when you've genuinely hurt someone. But defending, that's when you are literally justifying your very existence, or seeking permission to have totally normal boundaries, or trying to win over the skeptics. Give yourself permission, right now, to just stop defending your fundamental right to exist on your own terms.
Finally, let's hit Section 5, silence as true confidence.
Action-based evidence over time.
This is where silence actually becomes your superpower. Think about it. Words merely create promises, but actions? Actions build undeniable evidence. Constantly telling people I'm a good person or trying to prove your character with endless explanations is actually a pretty weak position. It is so much more powerful to just consistently show your character through reliable, everyday behavior. Let your actions do the talking.
Your life is not a courtroom. You don't have to put yourself on the witness stand for every single person you meet. You don't need a jury's approval to validate your self-worth. True confidence isn't always loud or talkative. Sometimes it's just being secure enough in yourself to smile and walk away from a debate.
Instead of exhausting yourself fighting every single misunderstanding, reassure yourself with a simple fact. Time is the ultimate truth teller. You really don't need to correct every false assumption in the moment, because over time, your consistent actions will speak volumes louder than anyone's biased opinions. Time reveals who is genuine and makes your reality completely impossible to ignore.
And that brings us to the ultimate payoff of this whole explainer. You don't need everyone to understand you. You just need to understand yourself. Once that really clicks for you, you stop living for an audience. You get your time back, you get your energy back, and you secure this profound, unshakable sense of mental peace. So I'm going to leave you with this one final thought to mull over today. Have you ever stopped explaining yourself to someone and finally felt a real sense of peace afterward? Remember, not every misunderstanding requires an explanation. Sometimes, living your life and staying consistent is the only answer you're ever going to need. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope this helps you tap into the true power of your silence.